Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith, the annoying voice of podcasting, and you're listening to the non-annoying Three Guys in a Flick.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Most of the week we were Ozzy and Harriet, but every Saturday night we were finding something out.
Three guys and a flick with Don, Ken, and John. Dive into the movies well after the dawn. From the good to the bad to the wildly absurd. They give a fuck about films. Their voices are heard.
Welcome back. You are listening to Three Guys in a Flick. This is where we review the good, the bad, and the absurd. Tonight's episode, Fight Club. Beware spoilers. Coming to you from the basement at Lou's, my name is Don. And to my right, we have the comic book guy, John.
Ready to fight.
And to my left, we have the professor, Ken.
Hello, everybody. How you doing tonight, Don?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah? John, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good.
Good. Tonight we are talking about Fight Club. Fight Club comes to us via the Bronco helmet, submitted by one of our listeners, Ben C. And as we all know, the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. And as we all know, the second rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club.
Is this a test?
No, this is not a test. You all know that rule number 8 is if this is your first night in Fight Club, you have to fight. First up, John and Ken.
I think you're a bad person. You make me crazy.
You suck.
Oh, yeah? Well, take this. I think that you are a silly, silly, silly man that doesn't deserve to have any respect for anything.
You suck more.
Yeah, I'm going to call it right there. Rule number 3, the fight is over when somebody says stop, pass out.
Okay, barely.
It's the fucking, you know what rule I'm talking about. It's rule 3. And I'm saying stop. Okay? How about that? There you go.
Okay, that works.
But are you yelling?
If somebody says stop.
Released on October 15th, 1999, Fight Club was directed by David Fincher. Screenplay by Jim Olds. Based on the book Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. And it stars Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, Helena Bonham Carter, Meatloaf, Jared Leto, and a bunch of all singing, all dancing craps of the world.
How'd this movie do, Don?
This movie was made for $65 million and brought in $101 million.
I read domestically, this film only did $36 million. So it was considered a pretty big flop.
Yeah. Do you remember when it came out in 99?
I remember I saw it in the theaters, but
Really?
I don't remember when exactly that was.
Did you see it in the theaters?
I don't think I did.
I didn't.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it didn't even make its budget back. Movies like this at this time were a tough go. If you look at the top 25 movies in 1999, 7 of them are adventure movies and 7 of them are comedies. And then after that, then you have 4 actions. You have 3 horrors, 2 thrillers, but only 1 drama. Dramas were not popular in 1999.
That doesn't surprise me. The Matrix came out in 99, I believe. So
Indeed it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, it ended up losing its only Oscar nomination to The Matrix. It was for Best Sound Effects Editing.
It was.
Yep.
This movie was nominated for an Academy Award.
Yes,
why
sir.
the fuck am I surprised? Suicide Squad won a fucking Academy Award.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. You have some movies where it's like, this was nominated for an Academy Award, and it's usually having something to do with sound or something like that.
Yeah.
And who did it lose to?
It lost to The Matrix.
Yeah.
Some of the things that might have caused the box office issues with this movie is, one, I know when the movie first came out, there was a lot of pushback regarding the violence in it, and especially the violence toward corporations, and like Starbucks was not happy with the movie. The buildings collapsing, people weren't happy with, the different terrorist kind of acts. Terrorism was a big hot point back then, it kind of still is, but back then a lot of people didn't like that kind of introduced as kind of suggesting it and encouraging terrorism against corporate America. So people didn't like that. And then did you hear the whole thing with Rosie O'Donnell?
I did not.
She watched this movie early, decided she didn't like it. She said she couldn't sleep after watching it. So on her show, which was a big thing back then, she decided to reveal the twist of the movie, that it was all a split personality, everything, to purposely ruin the movie and tell people not to go see it.
She was foreshadowing the internet.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
She also,
I mean, it's not wonderful. It's kind of a dick move, but
yeah,
now I think it's funny.
the director and Brad Pitt both said that it was unforgivable of her for doing that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty lame.
I mean, like I said, dick move, but this movie is directed by David Fincher. Are you guys familiar with his work at all?
You know, the only strong movie that I associate him with is Seven. And after that, I do remember that I did see The Game. But most of his other movies, I haven't really seen many of his other movies.
Oh, yeah?
I was actually surprised by how many movies I have seen of his, including Alien 3, you mentioned Seven, The Game, Fight Club, Panic Room. I have not seen Zodiac, but I did see The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and that's one I'd actually like to see go into the helmet sometime, because that's one of my favorite Brad Pitt movies.
Listeners, you heard the comic book guy.
The Social Network, The Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, Mank. I've never heard of Mank, but apparently that one did really well. And The Killer. I guess Mank and The Killer were both Netflix movies that he did.
Yeah, The Killer is with Michael Fassbender, and Keenan and I were talking about that. I have not had a chance to check that out yet, but I certainly want to.
Mank got some Oscar nods as well.
Oh, did it?
Mhm.
I'll have to check that out. I remember seeing Gone Girl and really liking that. But when I think of David Fincher, I think of Seven, naturally, which I think, in my humble opinion, and we all know how humble I am, is his strongest movie. But Social Network is solid.
One of the interesting things I found about David Fincher is that of all of his movies, most of them have had at least one or more Academy Award nominations. He's had over 40 nominations and has won 9 times.
9 times?
9 times.
I don't remember him being sick 9 times. So when we talk about Brad Pitt, do you have a Brad Pitt movie that you are thinking that he is really strong in besides Benjamin Button?
Is it weird for me to say all of them? I really like Brad Pitt as an actor. And I know that could probably sound weird because when you look up at the screen, your natural reaction is to go, that's Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm. But it's not distracting.
It's not, because let's take a movie like Fury.
I was thinking about that one.
Right? When I looked at the screen, I didn't say that's Brad Pitt. I said that's that soldier. And there's something about Brad Pitt, kind of in the Kurt Russell vein for me. He's fucking cool.
Yeah.
And
yeah, he's got swagger style.
yeah, he really does. And it doesn't come across too arrogant or too much. It's just right. I mean, think about the characters that he plays, and you could probably say that a lot of them have Brad Pitt in the character.
Ocean's 11.
I mean, they're all kind of very
Snatch.
swaggery,
Inglourious Bastards.
but they're fun, right?
Yeah.
So in my book, Brad Pitt can do no wrong.
What's your favorite Brad Pitt movie?
I still got a big soft spot for Ocean's 11.
What about you?
Deadpool 2.
Okay, but that is for what? 2 seconds, 1 second of screen time?
I know he wanted that reaction out of you, and he got it. You walked right into his trap.
It's an amazing death scene.
And he will justify it, and he will go to his grave thinking that. I find it hard to find a role that Brad Pitt's done that I didn't at
He's
least
got
like.
good staying power.
Yeah.
For me, I think one of his best acted ones, which is one you just brought up, Don, which is Snatch. The fact that he had to really get into that role, and I thought he was believable in that role.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, before we move on, and we'll close the door on Mr. Pitt here in a second, I think one of my most cherished roles for him, or one that will never get old, is Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And I know a lot of people are either love that movie or they cannot stand that movie and they hate it because of whatever reason.
I didn't hate it.
No. I'm just saying people in general. Because of the whole Brad and Jennifer Aniston and
Why
Angelina thing, right?
Julie won't watch it because of that.
Right. So, and that's just too bad because she is missing a fantastic movie because both of them are so charismatic in it. But that's just me.
Can I bring up just one more Brad Pitt movie?
Okay, go ahead.
It was the one he did right before this movie that was also considered a flop. I actually really enjoyed, which is Meet Joe Black. Did you ever see that one?
Fuck off.
You did
Okay,
not
maybe that's a Brad Pitt role. You know what? I didn't like the movie, but I like Brad Pitt.
What I loved about that movie was that Brad Pitt played such a monotone character, which was so different than all the other roles I had seen him in.
Yeah, well, there you go. Edward Norton Jr.
You know, I don't have too many of his movies that I get into. I liked him in The Italian Job, and the only other movie of note was Primal Fear.
I'm not a huge fan. I'll just throw that out there. When he played the Hulk, I wasn't too impressed. And The Italian Job, he just came off as whiny. The one role that I do like him in, actually, is Rounders with Matt Damon.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Primal Fear. I thought Primal Fear, for the time, and that twist was pretty fucking...
He was good.
Pretty good, yeah. What about you? Do you like this guy?
I've never been a fan of Edward Norton, even when he played the Hulk. I thought if you had a list of all the actors that have played that character, he's at the bottom.
Sure.
He's just, to me, he's very one-dimensional. I will say if I had to pick a favorite movie, a role of his, it would be the narrator in Fight Club.
Oh, there you go.
Because I thought at least this one wasn't so just plain and one-sided.
Huh. Interesting. We'll get into it. Plain and one-sided.
Did you like him in this?
I could take or leave him.
Mm.
And that's kind of how I feel about the entire movie.
Mhm.
But we'll get into it.
Helena Bonham Carter.
I love her.
I think she's amazing in just about everything she is because she's such a wacky character.
And she's beautiful to boot. And she's married to Tim Burton. And I remember when I was younger, I wasn't a huge fan of her roles or even Tim Burton. But as I've grown...
And as Harry Potter came along.
She's grown on me. And you know what it was? Actually, I actually know what it was. It was Alice in Wonderland.
Mm.
Yes, when she plays the Queen of Hearts with the big fucking forehead. I thought she was brilliant in that. And I'm like, huh. And so I gave her another look-see. And I did like her in this. She's not in it much, but I did like her in this.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I liked her in Big Fish.
Yeah. Good call.
And then the only other place I really knew her from was A Room with a View.
Oh, yeah, way back when.
Way back when.
Yeah. And what about you there, guy?
This is actually one of the movies I really enjoyed her in, but I'd have to go with the Harry Potter series. She played a good evil bitch in that movie.
Yeah, she was. She killed Sirius Black, fuckers. Yeah.
Well, how about her and Sweeney Todd?
It's another great one.
There's a watch.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah. You have Meatloaf, who I don't think has done a ton of movies, but he was in this.
You'd be surprised. He's done a bunch of movies.
Has he?
But
his name was Robert Paulson.
His name was Robert Paulson.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of movies, but they usually have been pretty small roles.
Oh, sure. I can see why, but yeah. And then we see a young and up-and-coming Jared Leto.
I think, to be honest, until this viewing, I did not know that was Jared Leto.
I didn't either.
That doesn't surprise me. He doesn't really look like Jared Leto because of the blonde.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to kind of really look closely and you go, oh, fuck, that's Jared Leto. Did you guys like the soundtrack?
I thought it was okay. I guess the original plan is they wanted Radiohead to do the soundtrack, but just the timing didn't work out.
Oh, I like me some Radiohead. I dug it. I thought the beats moved us along well, and it just kind of fit the tempo that Fincher was putting together.
Mm-hmm.
So,
regarding the tone of the movie, the way it was filmed, with such dark tones, drab tones, what do you think of the way that they shot the film?
it looked like a movie from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
In exactly what you just said, all of those tones. A lot of those movies, especially David Fincher at the time, were making those kinds of movies. Seven looked very reminiscent to it.
Yeah.
Alien 3 was really dark and wet and, gloomy.
Yeah. David Fincher, he definitely has a look, a vibe to him. He likes his blue tones. He likes his green tones. He digs dark urban settings. He also has a really fun look with his impossible camera shots that he'll give us.
Yeah.
And those are something that are just like, whoa, what the heck is that all about? It doesn't propel the story in any way, but it's very intriguing to watch.
Yeah.
The only way I can describe it is I felt like the movie felt like grunge without all the flannel.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, he cut his teeth on music videos. He's done a ton of music videos.
Yes.
And so leading up to his feature films, yeah, you pretty much have music videos from, top recording artists. And then after Fight Club, he kind of sort of took, I don't know, it was after Panic Room. He ended up taking a couple of years off and he went back to doing music videos. So that's just kind of sort of his thing.
And you can tell by the way Fight Club is cut. There's a lot of quick cuts and montages and smash cuts and things like that to move us along, which gives us a lot of information in a short time.
Very much.
And if done right, very effective.
Sir, what time is it?
It's no time because you're too fat, you're too old, and you're too weak. Come back later. No, guys, I was kidding. Come back. Professor, sit down. John, shake it off. Welcome to another edition of Master Movie Trivia. I am your reigning champ. You may call me the champ. I have compiled 5 questions and 5 questions only to test your knowledge of the movie we are reviewing. Each question could be worth multiple points, so if you know the answer, say it. And please wait until I finish each question. Let us begin. Question number 1. What does Edward Norton's character have to pretend he has while at remaining men together?
Testicular cancer.
Ooh, I'm going to call that a tie. Well done. Question number 2. What should Edward Norton's character chew to get rid of some of his insomnia?
Some kind of leaves. I don't remember.
Tea?
Valerian root.
Valerian root.
He says, Doc, you got to give me something. And the doc says, you need a good night's sleep and chew on some valerian root.
I just wanted to yell bitch tits.
Question number 3. According to the narrator, how much blood can you swallow before you get sick?
2 pints?
I thought it was a pint.
A pint it is. Professor takes the lead.
I had pint at least.
Question number 4. What has the narrator had after Tyler crashes the car?
A concussion?
A revelation?
The narrator has had a near-life experience.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, fuck that movie.
And question number 5. What types of companies were in the buildings that collapsed?
Financial credit card companies?
Financial credit card companies it is. Good job, boys. John, you pull it out and tie it up just right at the end. So this week ends in a tie. And congratulations, because neither of you are any closer to movie immortality. Unnamed narrator, who struggles with insomnia and dissatisfaction with his job and lifestyle, finds temporary solace in support groups. As his insomnia worsens, he discovers that expressions of emotional vulnerability help him sleep, leading him to join multiple groups for people facing emotionally distressing problems. Despite his expression being fraudulent, his efforts are thwarted when Marla Singer, another imposter, joins the same groups. The narrator is unable to present his fabricated struggles as genuine or divert his attention from her presence as an imposter, causing his sleeplessness to return. He arranges for them to attend different sessions to regain his ability to sleep and, under certain circumstances, to exchange contact information, to which she reluctantly agrees. So this movie starts out, we get our opening credits. It reminded me a lot of X-Men. Flying through the shit.
Do you know what it was supposed to represent?
Coming out of your brain?
It was actually starting at the fear center of the brain and showing that this movie is part of it is a whole conquering your fears.
Oh, there you go.
I didn't get that at all.
I don't know if he conquered them productively, but I guess he conquered them.
Mhm.
And so we start off with narration, as any good movie should do. And we are introduced to the narrator. I got to admit, I think this might be the second time I've seen this film. And for some reason, I always thought that they gave Edward Norton a name. But
Yeah, isn't that weird?
and then every time he would say something like Jack has colon cancer or something, he would refer to Jack. I thought that he was referring to himself, but it wasn't until later, obviously. We get what his name is.
Yeah, he gets it from the books that, Jack has something. Jack, when he's actually going through the books in that house they're staying in.
Gotcha.
The original plan in the book, he is just the narrator. That is his name. Throughout, this movie, though, in the script, they actually wrote his name as Jack only because that's what he referred to himself. What a lot of people don't know, or at least who aren't into comic books, there are 2 sequels to this movie. And in the second sequel, he renames himself to Sebastian. So, and they even say in that's not even his real name. So we never learn what his real name is.
Oh, there you go.
So the pullback we get, and eventually we are now introduced to the narrator, and he has a gun in his mouth, and we are he starts narrating to us, the audience. People are always asking me if I know Tyler Durden, and so there he is. 3 minutes. That's it. Ground zero. What'd you think of that?
It certainly gets your attention.
You're damn right it does.
Yeah. So
it's also a good, I thought, I've seen this movie multiple times. It's almost a good way to really throw you off the path of, all the hints that this movie gives that it's a split personality. You think, oh, well, the 2 of them in the room, he's holding a gun to him, has a gun in his mouth. He can't be a fake. He can't be a split personality.
well, you wouldn't think that the very first time you watched it.
Yeah.
So now that I've seen it and I know it's split personality, I'm thinking, is he holding the gun himself?
Yep.
And then I start thinking, that's fucking dumb. But we'll get to that too.
And we're quickly brought up to speed by the narration that there are bombs set in the buildings, and we are then told that everything goes back to Marla Singer. And with that, we leave the end of the movie and the story begins.
And now we see the narrator in his everyday life, right? He's at the office. He has to deal with the boss. He talks about his condo. And there's that bit where he's looking through the catalog. And then
IKEA.
then we get the camera shot through the apartment and all of the furniture pops up and gives us the names. Very stylistic.
He also goes to the doctor's office to try to find out if insomnia will kill him.
Right. And that's where the doctor's like, no one has ever died from insomnia. And he's like, you got to give me something.
Yeah.
But Doc's not having it.
There was a couple of things early on that really give you hints about this whole split personality storyline. I admit, first time I saw it, didn't even suspect it. Had no clue. The second time I saw it must have been on DVD or Blu-ray, because I remember the hospital scene when he's in the doctor's office and you start seeing little flashes of something like in a frame. And I remember pausing it to see that was Brad Pitt in those little flashes.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be showing us Tyler's breaking through.
Yeah.
This is the first when he's at the doctor's office and he offers up, he offers the testicular cancer sessions.
Oh, you want to see pain?
Yeah.
Or something like
It's
that?
right there.
Yeah.
That's where we get our very first flash. And it's just for a second of Tyler Durden.
Well, it's a frame of Tyler Durden.
Yep.
And what's kind of nice about the film is they also explain to you why it would be there physically, because when we meet Tyler, the whole film projection is synced.
Exactly.
So it kind of comes full circle there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's also a line, I don't remember, I think it might have been when he was on the plane. If you wake up at a different time in a different place, could you wake up a different person? And I believe that was at the airport where he was going one direction and you briefly see Brad Pitt going the other direction. And that was supposed to be another kind of foreshadow hint that this is what was going to be taking place in this movie, is that when he goes to sleep, he wakes up a different person.
And so after the doctor says, go to the group, we're now in the group of the testicular cancer survivors.
We meet Bob.
And we meet Bob.
There's another flash of Tyler Durden, so briefly.
And the narrator is explaining everything to us at this point. And he figures out that all he has to do is cry and he can start to sleep.
And so he kind of starts to get addicted to these 12-step, group therapy meetings.
And we get like a quick montage of the different groups and what times, and he's kind of planning out his day.
Did you catch one of the groups was sickle cell?
No.
Yeah, one of the groups is sickle cell, which I think it's something like 4% of white people have a chance of getting. It's usually African Americans that get sickle cell.
Oh.
So that was the joke in that. And then them seeing Marla showing up to testicular cancer was another joke.
Yeah. All the ones I noticed were the sex addicts.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, so when she walks in, this is cancer, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's just so sassy. And he says, she ruined everything.
I love that she walked into the cancer group smoking a cigarette.
Now he notices that Marla is in other support group meetings as well.
She's a tourist.
Yeah, he keeps saying that, and he keeps having these, conversations with himself, confronting her and calling her out until he actually does it.
In the book version, she does call him out during the cancer group and reveals that he doesn't have cancer.
So when they are hashing out, why should they split up? Why do I have to? Why do you have to? I love how she just brazenly walks out into traffic and she doesn't even look at the traffic, you know, and the cars are whizzing by her and she turns around and she starts talking to him again. And then when she comes walking back to him, never looks once at the traffic and the cars continue to zoom and honk at her.
It was this scene, the first time I saw it, that, like I said, I never suspected that Brad Pitt was, a split personality. I thought Marla was his split personality. I thought that she wasn't real. She was like an imaginary friend by the way she walked out in the traffic and the way she did these things and the way she was showing up at the places where he really didn't want her.
I could see that.
At the moment she's walking back through the traffic, they grudgingly agreed to exchange phone numbers with each other.
And then we go on that montage of him traveling, right?
Yep.
On a return flight from work, the narrator meets a soap salesman, Tyler Durden. After an explosion destroys the narrator's apartment, he moves into Tyler's decrepit house. They become friends and start an underground fight club in a bar basement. Tyler also saves Marla from an overdose, initiating a sexual relationship between them while the narrator remains cold to her.
So during the traveling montage, we do get the travelator where the narrator is traveling in one direction, and then we have Tyler Durden traveling in the other direction.
Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking, there's a scene in this whole montage where he's sitting on the plane and the plane, breaks apart. That's like my reoccurring nightmare because I travel so much. When I was coming back from Heathrow years ago, and we went through some pretty rough turbulence. That bit where the plane rips apart, I could fully see in my head while it was going on.
I was
fucking terrifying.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. That's another one of those crazy shots that David Fincher gives us.
Yeah.
That airplane, as he fantasizes about dying.
Right.
One of the things I appreciate this movie is the dialogue and the script writing. It brings up some terms that, just quotable lines and terms that make sense. And I liked his term single-serving friend or single-serving whatever. It made sense.
Because he's not real?
No, more of, like when you get on a plane, they give you a single serving of this drink or they give you a single serving of whatever. When you're on a plane and you're talking to someone like they are your new best friend, you're probably never going to call them again, so they're just single serving.
Tyler and the narrator meet, and we find out that Tyler makes soap. And then we kind of also find out during that conversation that in the process of making soap, you can actually make some
napalm.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Napalm, because he says, was it soap, nitroglycerin, and orange juice or something like that? Or
Equal amounts of gasoline and orange juice concentrate.
Yeah, napalm. And so they land.
And they part ways, and his luggage is vibrating? What do you mean it was vibrating?
Right.
And then we see Tyler Durden jump into a car. Hey, that's my car.
Yeah.
that was supposed to be another hint that Tyler didn't exist because somebody was stealing the car. And I do love the discussion of the airport guy saying how we're not allowed to say it's your dildo. We have to say the dildo.
Oh, right. And so the narrator makes it back home, and he learns that his condo blew up.
Yeah, that's where we get one of these crazy camera shots. The camera zooms in on the stovetop. We go right underneath the grate.
Right. And it kind of gives us the path of the gas and how it ignites. And there's a lot of that in this movie, kind of like let's slow it down and walk you step by step what's going to happen or what's going on screen. So
there's also a lot of call outs in this movie. Like when he was going through the catalog and talking about all the things that he either bought or wants to buy or things like that, he mentions a yin yang table. Did you notice that in the explosive pile of stuff, just rubble, here is the yin yang table?
Yeah, I saw that laying on its side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So first he decides to call Marla, but then he changes his mind and he gives Tyler a call.
I like how Marla answers and goes, "I can hear you breathing." And then he hangs up. Chicken shit.
Yeah.
So he calls himself and they meet for a beer. And they kind of have dialogue. It goes back and forth.
One of the rumors that I read, or not even a rumor, it's something I read, which I haven't verified, is at some point in this movie, there's a flash that shows us the narrator's phone number. When we see the back of Tyler's card with a phone number written, that's the same phone number as the narrator.
I wouldn't doubt it if it exists. And if it does, I mean, cool. During this, as they're getting to know you, we get to know who Tyler is.
The main focus of the conversation is he's talking about how there's just too much consumerism in the world.
Right.
And this consumerism, it's making him angry inside. And so he's starting to lash out, if you will. Not necessarily fight back, but lash out.
Yeah.
He's also mentioning, at least, I don't know if it's specifically in this part, of the weakening of men in society and how they're all becoming snowflakes in that they're just becoming, less dominant of the species kind of characters in these things because of all the commercialism, because of all the things that we need when we don't really need those things.
Sure.
So he grudgingly gets out of the narrator, "You want to stay with me? You need to ask."
Just ask the question. And Brad Pitt's so cool during this. This whole scene, I thought he was just fucking cool. He knows what Edward Norton's doing, and he makes him say it. And then I like his reaction after that. He says, "Can I stay with you?" And he's like, "Yeah." Like it's no big deal, right? And then I think this is probably one of my favorite lines when Tyler when Brad Pitt looks at Edward Norton and says, "I want you to do me a favor," and he says, "What?" He says,
"I want you to hit me as hard as you can."
And he's so cool when he delivers that line.
Did you read the story behind that scene?
No, I did not.
They had filmed that scene many, many times, many different ways. And then for that particular scene, the scene that they use, the director went to Ed Norton and said, "This time, I really want you to hit him. Just all out, hit him with everything you got." And
hit him in the ear.
Hit him in the ear. Did he specifically tell him to hit him in the ear, or was that a
Yes.
surprise? I wasn't sure if that was a surprise. So, of course, Edward Norton went ahead and hit him in the ear. So that was really a real reaction from Brad Pitt about getting hit in the ear. I don't know if the second punch was real with Brad Pitt's response, but they say that if you look right after Ed Norton did it, you can see him trying to hold back the laughter because he thought it was so funny.
Who, Brad Pitt's trying to hold back the laughter?
No,
or
Ed Norton.
Oh.
Ed Norton trying to hold back the laughter.
Yeah, well, I laughed.
Have you ever been hit in the ear like that?
Yes, I have, as a matter of
That
fact.
freaking hurts.
The next scene, we have a reveal where we have the narrator. He breaks the fourth wall, and I think it's the only time he actually looks at us, the audience. And he starts going on about how the projectionist job for Tyler, he likes to do this little thing.
And that's where he's cutting a frame of porn into, like, family movies.
Yes.
This fucking guy.
I could have sworn the first time I saw this movie and they did that and then they went to the theater shot with the kids and everything, that it was Snow White playing in the background. And they were doing the hi-ho, and then clip, and then hi-ho, and then the girl crying. Now it was some other movie that I didn't recognize.
Oh, I have no idea.
I don't know either. So the other job that is revealed to us is that Tyler has a job where he works as a waiter in a banquet hall at a hotel.
Right.
Before he hits him in the ear, the narrator says, why do you want to do this? He says, I've never been in a fight. Have you ever been in a fight? And the narrator says, no. Why would I ever want to be in a fight? And he says, how can you really know who you are if you've never been in a fight? And then he also says, Tyler says, I don't want to leave this life without scars.
No. Foreshadowing.
So after the fight's over with, they're like, we should do this again.
And thus Fight Club is born.
And so now we get kind of a montage, if you will, or
We get to see
quick cuts.
Tyler's house.
Well, I love the during the little montage part where Tyler and this might become after we see the house. Tyler and the narrator are fighting, and you see the biker guys, whatever, coming out of the bar and kind of joining in. And my first thought was, are they just at first watching a guy beating the shit out of himself, and then thought, hey, let's get in on that?
Yeah. If we're to believe what we're led to believe at the end of the film, then yes.
And then we get to see a quick little montage of them living together.
In this broken down house. You know what that house reminded me of? That house reminded me a little bit of the Psycho house and the house in It.
I got to say, I was really curious to find out how they dressed that house for the movie. You know, all of the destruction, all of the dilapidation, all of the crustiness of the house. I'm curious to know, was it just a straight up prop that was built specifically for the movie?
Oh, I have no idea. It wouldn't surprise me, but yeah. I like how the narrator says, Tyler and I were 5 blocks away from everybody in every direction, or however far it was. It's like he was saying that we're in the middle of nowhere and we can do whatever we want. It's as they're hitting golf balls.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you know during the golf ball scene that both of them were really drunk, and every time they hit the ball, it was hitting the side of the catering trucks?
Then we get that little montage where we get that reveal. Most of the week we were Ozzie and Harriet, but every Saturday night we were finding something out. And this is it. 42 minutes into the movie, we are introduced to the Fight Club.
What do you guys think of this bit?
I read that rule number 1 and rule number 2 was meant to be reverse psychology by Tyler Durden. Was meant to, even though he tells him don't talk about Fight Club, the point was he wanted to build up the Fight Club so it made people want to talk about it.
I use that philosophy on students at school occasionally. I know how to make you think of the number 12. There, I just did it.
Yeah, there you go. And I mean, I'm not saying I do it to both of you every week and you don't know it. I'm just saying I understand what you're saying.
If you could fight any celebrity, who would you fight?
I like how they keep coming up with these things.
Yeah.
Because they're just talking about Fight Club.
If you could fight any celebrity, who would you fight?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Ken?
Same. I don't think of anybody to fight.
You guys are no fun.
Well, who would you fight?
Pee Wee Herman.
He would kick your ass.
I don't know about that.
He would kick your ass.
If he wore the big shoes, maybe.
I'm telling you, bud. I'm just trying to warn you. That's all. And besides, it's more fun to be a lover than a fighter. I'm just saying.
We do get a brief passage of time revealed to us by Marla calling. Marla calls and she's like, "Where have you been for the last 8 weeks?" Because he hasn't been going to any of the therapies.
Right.
And so this is showing us that time is starting to pass.
Right. And is this the bit where she is going to kill herself? She took a bunch of Xanax.
Sort of.
It turns into that, I think.
It's in this time.
Yeah. And then I like how he puts the receiver on top of the phone and then walks away because he doesn't care.
Right.
But then we find out later that Tyler picks up the phone and starts talking to her.
Yeah,
Right.
That's revealed later. So yeah, the narrator, he's sitting there eating some breakfast. I had the weirdest dream last night. And that sequence that they shot the sex scene with, that was done a la Matrix style.
Yeah. Bullet time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same technology.
Right.
Here's my question. If at this point, if we're supposed to believe that Tyler is a separate person, when he picked up the phone and just kind of started listening to her and all this, and she's talking about, do you want to hear the death rattle or whatever it is? He just goes to her place. How would he know her address if he's never met her?
He just asked her.
He was. I don't think he even talked during that whole thing.
We don't know because we cut away.
Oh.
He probably did talk to her.
One of the interesting things I read about this scene was, for me, I felt like Marla had some of the best lines, and she had the line about, "I haven't had sex like that since grade school."
I chuckled.
Did you hear the story behind that line?
No.
Originally, it was meant to be something else. The original line was, "I want to have your abortion." And one of the top producers in the movie said, "Absolutely not. You cannot use that line. We will not allow it." So the director said, "Fine, we'll cut it from the movie as long as you allow me to use the next line we have on the list. Guaranteed, I can use that line." And so they said, "Sure, just cut this line." Well, the next line was, "I haven't had sex like this since grade school." And they let him keep it. They wanted that cut too, but they let him keep it.
Well, there you go. I start to notice in this bit as, we get the montage of life going on and the narrator's at home and you hear all the loud pounding noises from Tyler and Marla. I started to notice that every time one would walk in the room, the other one would walk out, meaning if Marla walked in, Tyler would walk out, or if Tyler walked in, then Marla would walk out. And though that was one of those moments, looking at it now, I went, okay, that's a little clever.
For me too, the hint of, don't talk to her about me. Don't even mention me. Tyler was trying to cover his base.
Yeah.
And I got to say, after the reveal, it's cool watching the movie to watch Marla's expression as she gets this dual personality through the eyes of the narrator. What are you doing?
Why are you
This
still
is
here?
my house.
Yeah. Her reactions, you know what they remind me of? The wife from The Sixth Sense. And that whole thing, when you go back and watch it again. Yeah.
So then we get the quick little story about how Tyler ends up with Marla, and he asks if the narrator, "Are you into Marla?" And he says no. And I think it's at this point where he says, "You have to promise, never discuss my relationship with her. Promise." And he says it to him 3 times. And so this just drives the narrator crazy because first she invaded the support groups and now she's invading his home, and he has to listen to them having their crazy sex. And he's just trying to ignore it, but it's hard.
I guess the Brad Pitt and Helen Bonham Carter spent 3 days on set just recording sex sounds.
Oh, there you go.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So the detective, he calls and he says that it appears that they have found the cause of the explosion to his condo. And they think it might be homemade dynamite.
And then you kind of think to yourself, row, Reggie.
Well, that you'd think would be your first clue, at least that Tyler had some responsibility and all. But the narrator never brings that up at that point.
No, it's meant to drag out, and it will be revealed later. But yeah, this is one of the first breadcrumbs to be dropped about the whole apartment getting blown up thing. So,
and then we have the narrator ask Tyler, "What are we doing tonight?" "We are making soap." And so now we have a little montage of them making soap, and how he thinks that the best fat to use is liposuction fat.
Of all the scenes in this movie, even Bob getting his head, brains blown out, I don't know why, but every time seeing that big bag of fat get caught on the top of the fence and then start pouring out and they're trying to catch it all, to me, that's the gross out scene of the movie.
It's pretty rough.
it's fucking gross. Yeah.
It is.
Agreed.
I love what he's trying to catch it. What is he going to do once he's caught it?
Yeah, who knows why madmen do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Was it painful to watch the chemical burn scene?
no, not really.
It wasn't painful for me either. I understand that it's painful. I get that. I didn't understand Tyler wanting to do that to him.
At that point, I'm like, why are you doing it to yourself? Which, okay, self-mutilation, it's a thing. And then, I don't know, when you see Brad Pitt's hand and you see Edward Norton's after it's all over, I mean, it looks the same. So you're thinking, oh, he's the same guy, so he did it to himself.
Well, the first time I saw this movie, yeah, I did feel like it was a painful scene. I kind of like cringed at it a bit. But again, watching it so many different times, I think it's kind of a statement on you are not your pain. You know, you are beyond that. You can tune everything else, including pain. Pain is just a stimulation of your nerves. You know, if someone put something burning against you, yeah, it's going to hurt like hell, but you can focus some of that pain away and not focus on that pain. So I don't know. I think it was trying to teach him how to rise above his own pain and his own issues.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of inferring out of it as well. But I just thought, I don't know, why do you need to do that?
Yeah. It became to me, right after that as sort of a club initiation. That now they're in a club, and that each person that joins, because he almost starts he starts building this army pretty close after this, has to go through the same thing because they all end up with the scars.
Right.
What do you think of the scene where we have Marla trying to have the narrator check to see if she has a lump on her breast? I took that scene as, at first I didn't know necessarily what that scene was about, although she's showing some concern, some care for the narrator. But now watching it, now I understand more why she was doing it, because she just wanted to know what the hell is going on inside of his head. Do you have any feelings for me? You seem to be on and off.
There were 3 scenes that specifically made me question what was going on with her until we get obviously the big twist, which is I thought maybe she really did think she had a lump or whatever. And of course she's going to call the guy she's sleeping with, who's seen her naked, to check her for a lump. The other scenes were, there was a scene where she kind of went up to try to kiss him and he kind of turned away. Or no, I think it was right after, when he goes to leave after checking for her for a lump. She kind of kisses him or whatever, and he kind of turns away. And then another time she comes up to him and starts reaching down into his crotch area and feeling down there. Mm-hmm. I think that's when she was wearing the prom dress or whatever, or no, the bridesmaid's dress. And he kind of rebuffs her. These are all things that she would do in a normal relationship. And for him, he's like, why are you screwing with me if you're screwing Tyler? So it was an interesting way that I think they kind of portrayed that.
We also have Bob showing up, and turns out Bob is a part of Fight Club too.
The narrator quits his job, blackmails his boss for funds, and grows Fight Club, attracting new members, including his cancer support group friend, Bob. Tyler morphs the club into Project Mayhem, committing acts of vandalism intended to disrupt the social order. Feeling sidelined, the narrator confronts Tyler, who admits to orchestrating the explosion in the narrator's apartment and then goes missing. The police kill Bob during a mission, after which the narrator goes looking for Tyler. Discovering the project's nationwide reach and being called Tyler Durden by Marla and other people, he realizes he and Tyler are split personalities.
This whole thing with the narrator quitting his job and staging, the one-sided fight and all that, to me, this was the biggest foreshadow. This was the biggest hint of there never was a Tyler. In that this fight of him fighting himself, showing the capability of fighting himself, is exactly how the other fights had gone.
I can see that happening, but for me, I thought he was just fucking cuckoo. And one of the hits, he hits himself and he jumps through the table or all that stuff. I mean, that's a bit extreme. And if I'm the boss watching what's happening, I would have called security before it even got to that fucking point. But I guess blackmail works.
Well, I think,
and he beats the shit out of himself and he fucking gets the money.
I kind of felt like the narrator waited until his boss got on the phone so that then whoever was on the phone could hear all the smashing and punching and all of those things. And so he could have something to say. He'd have a witness.
I don't know. I think it's a bit thin.
It was one of my favorite scenes of the movie.
Of course it was. Why is it one of your favorite scenes?
Because it was so unexpected. And it dovetails nicely into the previous scene. The previous scene has the Fight Club happening in the basement of the bar. And then we have the owner, Lou, come downstairs with his muscle. And he's telling him to get out. And Tyler, he picks a fight with him. And watching Tyler just getting pummeled and his crazy laugh that he has, especially after he starts drooling all of his bloody face discharge onto Lou's face, and that crazy laugh that goes with him. I just thought that was an awesome moment, which leads us to homework. And the homework that he assigns is he wants people to go out and get into a fight and lose.
With people they don't know.
Right. And so I think this is where this is where the narrator comes up with an idea of, I'm just going to fight myself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe.
He's going to kick his own ass.
Maybe.
Kind of might be, maybe there's a little bit in there that this was a statement of, you had to fight somebody you didn't know. He doesn't know himself. So that's why he kicks his own ass.
That's deep. That's deep. My favorite one was the priest.
That was my favorite too. That, he sprays it. Why'd you spray me? Why you spray? And I love the priest's punch him and then runs away.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Quickie Mart scene with the driver's license?
It was okay, I guess.
To me, this was kind of, at first it seemed like it was going in a way weird direction. Like it was starting to get a little too violent, a little too mean. I understood all the other stuff that they were trying to expand and all that. But then the way that Tyler explained it, of that guy's now going to go home and probably have the best sleep of his life, have the best breakfast of his life, and everything is going to be brand new to him. If you think about it, that's what people say who have near-death experiences, that everything is brighter and more brand new. So who knows? It's an interesting idea. There was another little subtle hint in this scene when Brad Pitt, when Tyler gets the gun, he takes it out of the narrator's backpack. And then the narrator claims, I didn't know that was there. Mm-hmm. So that was supposed to be another hint of he doesn't always know what's going on in his own life.
I thought it was pretty dark for him to have somebody go through that. Mm-hmm. Because if somebody is incapable of that because of a fiscal situation, I guess, Tyler wants to have a person, push themselves into uncomfortable places in order to make themselves happier, I guess.
One of my thoughts too with this scene was it could go the completely opposite way of what he had thought. He said, this guy's going to have, everything's going to be better for him. What if now this guy goes on to live in fear?
Yeah. I was kind of thinking about that too, that, he's probably going to quit the job and he's going to be looking over his shoulders for a long time. Mm-hmm. I just don't know that is a great way to motivate somebody.
I don't think it's a great way at all.
The second or third time I watched this movie, I started to suspect that certain things going on in the movie didn't really happen. And again, they were just all happening in the narrator's mind. The way that we never really see inside the store or the guy working the store, when Tyler goes in, grabs him and yanks him out, part of me was thinking, this is just another false memory. This is just another thing that didn't really happen, but it just happened for the narrator to see it.
Right. Sure.
I think this is where Tyler takes a turn, because after this driver's license scene, then you start the recruitment montage where the guy shows up on the front porch and he ends up there for 3 days. And then you have a second person, Bob, shows up. And then that montage of having the recruitment starting to happen. Tyler is definitely getting a little creepy at this point.
Yeah, it's very terroristy, if you will. He actually kind of turns into the character from 12 Monkeys.
There were actually a lot of references and a few lines from 12 Monkey in this movie.
8 listeners, 12 Monkeys. I like how, even though Brad Pitt comes out and yells at these cadets, they still stay, and then they finally get in. And when he yells at Bob, and we see that Bob and the narrator see each other, and they're all, wait a minute, you're in the club? And they're like, yeah, I'm in the club. You in the club? And they figure it out. I like how Brad Pitt comes out, yells at him, calls him fat, tells him to get off the fucking porch, and Bob goes.
Bob puts his head down and just starts to walk away.
And so the narrator runs after him, and then we cut to a different scene, and Bob sticks it out. Mm-hmm. So and they are building this army, if
Right.
you will.
Project Mayhem is
and
now
the-
being revealed to us.
Yes, yes.
They threatened the police chief. They're going to cut his balls off if he doesn't back down from the investigation into the antics that Tyler's little army is starting to have a serious effect on the city.
Well, it starts off as just little pranks, and then it's growing bigger and bigger and bigger
And-
as this army grows.
And in the meantime, the narrator's like, what the fuck is going on? Why are you not including me in all of these schemes, plans? I thought that we created this together. Or there's that power struggle of who's in charge. And
This is in the car?
yeah. And well, I mean, it leads up to it,
Yeah.
right? And then they go, and every time the narrator asks a question, he's always told the rule is not to ask any questions. So, kind of frustrating.
And Tyler admits, yeah, he blew up the condo.
Yeah, I did it to release you from your worldly possessions and come be free.
Yeah, let go. Stop worrying about things.
And then now he tries to prove this example even more in the car by letting go of the wheel. They kind of fight for a little bit. And Tyler's like, fuck, dude, just let go. Just let go.
You know who he is in this? He's the Joker from The Dark Knight. Chaos.
Yeah, sure.
One of the fun things about this scene is if you watch the reactions of the people in the back seat, we're noticing, they're seeing the narrator talking to himself and arguing over it, and all of a sudden his hands are off the wheel and everything. You can see the visual emotion of theirs of what the fuck's going on here.
Yeah. And so the car crashes, and the narrator's like, what the fuck is going on?
And Tyler's just speaking psychobabble bullshit.
Yeah. And it's at this point kind of, you're starting to lose me a little bit, Brad Pitt. Movie.
There was another hint here, another subtle hint of where you see the narrator sitting and where you see Tyler sitting in the car. When the car's flipped over and you see the narrator crawl out of the car, he crawls out of the side that Tyler was sitting on.
Oh, there you go.
So after the car accident, all of a sudden we find out that Tyler is gone, and then the narrator, he's walking around the house, and the house is completely abuzz with activity. There is just tons of activity, lots and lots of people in there, and he's like, what the hell is going on here?
Right. And he sees all of these people, and he's walking through, and then he can see like plans and folder files on the wall, and then he finally fucking walks outside, and he's like, what the fuck?
And Marla shows up. Who are all these people?
Right. And he says, and this is one of those bits where I thought of the wife from The Sixth Sense, and she's like, Tyler's not here. Tyler's gone away. Yeah. And she's like, she just looks at him all bewildered and is like, you're a fucking weirdo.
Complete disbelief.
Well, and then rocks off.
I felt like, she's just looking at him as like an asshole boyfriend who doesn't want to acknowledge her, just wants her for sex. And so she gives that look like, fuck you, and walks away. We have around this time as well, a little bit later in the evening, isn't this where Bob gets killed?
Yeah. So right after Marla leaves, then we hear these calls for help, and we go rushing into the house, and turns out Bob has been shot.
Right.
And what has happened, it was that they had a little bit of mischief that they were doing, that little wrecking ball thing crashing into the coffee stand, and for whatever reason, a police officer shoots somebody. I don't get that.
And so the narrator's like, I got to find Tyler. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, this represented the turning point that the narrator in the movie version turns against Tyler.
His name is Robert Paulson.
His name is Robert Paulson. And so as the narrator's going on his journey,
It's kind of a montage.
He finds a bunch of airline tickets, and he decides to retrace Tyler's steps.
And somehow he knew where to go. He knew what bars to look in, where there were probably fight clubs.
Because he's the same fucking guy.
He had said at some point during the movie, when he found out there were more fight clubs, that he just knew what bars Tyler and other people might have had fight clubs at.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And some of the people that he bumps into kind of like treat him weird, or he thinks he's being treated weird.
Well, they also treat him like they've seen him before. They know him.
Yeah.
And they call him sir the moment he walks in.
That's a better way of saying it. And
He finally gets somebody to talk square with him.
he says, "Who do you think I am?"
You were in here last Thursday.
Is this a test?
standing in the same spot you are now?
Yeah. And it's revealed to him that he is Tyler.
You're Mr. Durden.
Yeah.
That's when he gets on the phone to,
He frantically
Marla?
calls Marla.
who am I?
Have we ever had sex?
And she, again, is tripping.
I love her line of, well, do you want me to say it was making love or having sex? Which is it?
Right.
Just say my name. Tyler Durden. Tyler Durden, you're fucking freak. And then right here, I love that camera shot. The camera shot, left frame is Tyler sitting underneath a lamp. Right frame is the narrator standing over a lamp. And in the middle, we have the window separating them. Great framing.
Yeah.
Loved this.
Yeah. Good shot.
Did you notice that throughout the movie, Tyler's getting, I don't know how to put it, he's supposed to be getting more sexy looking and more hot. And Edward Norton's character is getting worse and sickly and all of that. Did you kind of notice the differences going in the directions?
No, because Brad Pitt, as a general rule, is sexy and hot, and Edward Norton is sickly looking, always.
Edward Norton, to play this role, actually starved himself. I forget what other movie he had done this for, but he had gone on some special diet so that he was continuously losing weight and looking sickly as the filming went on. And then here in the hotel room, we've got Brad Pitt in all this kind of, weird outfit with the shaved head now. And I don't know, just like he's improving while you're noticing that Edward Norton's, the narrator's character, is dying away.
Sure.
Like it's like one becoming stronger, one becoming weaker.
And so he gets to find out for real now that Tyler Durden and the narrator are one and the same. It is interlaced during these moments where we get these quick little cuts as he's having this talk with Tyler, where it's finally coming to light that indeed everything is happening just the narrator. There is no Tyler Durden because Tyler Durden only exists in his head.
And this is the time when I watched it for the first time when he's hitting himself in the street and fighting himself. I thought it was fucking dumb then, and I kind of think it's fucking dumb now. So, but as far as like when they kidnap the police chief, instead of Brad Pitt's face, we have the narrator's face, and then being with Marla, it all kind of comes together.
They show him getting his ass kicked by Lou.
Yeah, not Brad Pitt, but
well, the funny one when you were just mentioning showing him with Marla, and they just kind of show him, with Marla on the bed, or whatever. Do you notice he didn't have a happy face or anything? He looked like ew.
No, I was not looking at his face.
To me, that was kind of how I thought Edward Norton, the narrator's face, would be being with Marla, since he didn't like Marla that much.
Well, part of him did.
Yeah.
And
subconsciously, I guess.
Well, and she seemed to like it too. Right?
She calls him spectacular in the sack.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's what they say. The crazy ones are always the best.
Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Oh, who says that?
All of my ex-girlfriends.
Ah. Learning that Project Mayhem plans to erase debt records and blowing up the headquarters of credit card companies, the narrator unsuccessfully warns Marla and goes to the police, some of whom are also Project Mayhem members. He attempts to disarm the explosive, but Tyler attacks him. Accepting that he is Tyler, he shoots himself in the mouth, killing Tyler, while the bullet non-fatally passes through the narrator's cheek. Marla arrives, and the two hold hands as they watch the targeted buildings collapse. Roll credits. And so now that he is figuring this out,
he's leaving the hotel, and he has a long list of phone calls that he has made between 2 and 3:30 in the morning. And so now he starts tracking where are these phone calls exactly. And he's back at the house, and he realizes that, hey, these phone numbers are to destinations in other cities and other addresses that are posted up on the wall. And so this is Project Mayhem stuff.
Right. And so he figures it out, and he goes to the cops, and he tries to turn himself in.
He also begs Marla to please leave town. He begs her to please leave town.
He gives her all of his money, puts her on a bus. They don't know where the fucking bus is going. And I'm pretty sure buses don't work like that.
What did you think? Did you see it coming that the cops would be in on it?
Kind of, because everybody else was. Other than the lead investigator who kept calling him, I didn't think he was in on it, but I kind of thought everybody else was. And when they said, sir, you're like, oh. But when they tried to cut his balls off?
Well, when I first saw this movie, I didn't see it coming. And it was kind of an oh fuck moment for me when they said, when they just come out and blurt out, this is very brave of you, sir.
And I also like how they say, yeah, you said you would say that. And so he gets away and he takes off.
He makes his way to one of the buildings that he remembers from the from the stuff back at the house, the Franklin building or whatever. And he gets down into the basement, and sure enough, there is a white van parked down there, and it is filled with nitroglycerin.
And I like how when Tyler shows up, he just shows up out of nowhere. And now he did it a little bit in the hotel room when he first reveals his bald head, but now he's even admitting, I'm in your fucking head. Why do you think I'm here? You know, he starts to talk to the narrator like that.
Well, when they first get to the building, Tyler's outside talking to him. Then all of a sudden, Tyler's behind the glass inside the door, and he's just popping around now. So he's just, showing he's not really there. And, the narrator even shoots at him, and it goes right through him.
Yeah.
I did love, one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when they go down to the basement, and he's having the whole discussion. This is like my favorite scene, discussion about, I can stop the bomb. He's going to cut the wires. And he's like, well, maybe I spent all day thinking the wrong wire. And how he's starting to connect up of everything you know, I should know. Everything that you do, I'm doing, and all this stuff. And he's like, well, he goes, oh, no, don't cut the green wire. Don't cut the green wire. And so he cuts the green wire, and he gets, I told you not to cut the green wire.
Yeah. But he disarms the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then Tyler, he goes a little Bruce Lee on the narrator, and it was kind of fun watching the security monitors when it's just the narrator on the screen.
Was it?
I was saying the
was
same
it fun?
thing. I was saying the same thing. It was kind of an interesting way to film it. Of the fight between the two of them, and then on the monitor you're seeing there's no other person there.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense why they do it, and the fighting's cool because Brad Pitt's cool. But then when we cut to the monitor, I laugh because it looks fucking dumb. Yeah, okay, somebody get down on the ground and act like you're getting pulled away by someone else, please. I want to see how you can do that by yourself and make it look convincing.
I figure it was just that you had someone in a green suit,
but someone was there, so hence two people.
Yeah.
We're supposed to believe it's only one person.
Yeah, but you could do the whole foot thing. And
oh, please,
yourself.
Fucking show me.
I can't do it with my knee.
Yeah, with my knee.
But I'll show
fucking hokey. But that's just my opinion. And I'm just one guy.
You are.
Jonathan Moxon is just one man.
You're just a hater.
So when we have the camera shot of him being he's tumbling down the stairs towards us, I thought that was a really good looking camera shot. How the narrator comes to a rest right in front of us, the camera, and we have Tyler up at the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good looking shot.
Is it in just right after this that the narrator figures out that if Tyler's holding a gun, I must be holding the gun?
Yeah, so he wakes up, and here we are back at the beginning of the movie.
And so now we are back at the beginning, at the end, with apparently
3 minutes to go.
He is holding a gun in his own mouth, but then he takes it out. Dirty. And we see that the lynch mob or his army people or whoever you want, whatever the fuck his soldiers, they have brought Marla back.
Goons.
Apparently, one of Project Mayhem's members was the bus driver.
Oh, well, there you go. And so they're in the building. They're waiting for this bomb to go off. And there's really only one way to get rid of Tyler that the narrator can come up with. What'd you guys think of the bit where he shoots himself in the mouth?
I didn't think that he should have lived through that.
Neither do I.
When I first, when they first give the big reveal of the split personality, my immediate thought was he's going to end up killing himself in some way to stop him, because it's the only way you can stop somebody who's inside you.
And you could just say stop.
And it definitely doesn't stop the bombs.
No, not even a little bit. But I'm with you guys. I thought he should have died too. But I guess he just shot himself through the cheek, which kills Tyler. And maybe it's just the whole act of doing it cleanses him, I guess. I don't know. If you have an imaginary friend and you shoot yourself in the cheek, what's to say that imaginary friend's just not going to pop up again?
I kind of felt the exact same thing. I was thinking that, he would know that Tyler's not really dead, so Tyler could pop back up. But maybe at that moment when he shot himself, he thought he was going to die, and thereby just keeping and holding on to that belief that he killed Tyler kept Tyler dead.
Maybe.
Yeah, I guess.
And so they bring Marla up, and she sees him, and he's trying to, talk to her or explain whatever.
I love how he just keeps saying, I'm fine. It's nothing. I'm fine.
It's nothing. And then, they're about to have this conversation, and then boom, it all comes crashing down. What do you guys think of the shot?
Well, it's interesting, Professor, you brought up the point of, why didn't he just die? Why didn't they just end it right there? In other country versions of this movie, they do end it right there. That's where the movie goes black and ends and goes to credits. So here, they had the buildings collapse and everything. I thought it was interesting, but it's one of those with a dark ending that I don't know if I was such a big fan of, that really in the end, he shot himself in the head. He lived, which is far-fetched enough, and Tyler won.
I think that the way that the movie ended, that Tyler should be dead along with the narrator, that they're both dead. The fact that the narrator ends up living, okay, I guess I can go with that, I guess. It didn't bother me that much, but I thought, I thought it was sweet that Marla showed sympathy for him at the end of the movie. She was genuinely concerned about how awful he looked, and she showed tenderness to him that he was able to reciprocate back.
Sure.
She even held his hand at the end.
She did.
I did dig the song at the end, so there is that.
And the movie ends with, do you remember one of the shots that Tyler Durden had that he was showing us, the audience, that he would splice into the movies?
The penis.
Yeah, you have the penis at the very end of the movie.
Yeah.
That's a little clip, yeah.
They call that a callback. So, there you go. And that's Fight Club.
There are 2 sequels to this I mentioned earlier in comic book form. And who would I be as the comic book guy if I didn't talk about these sequels? In sequel number 2, I mentioned earlier, it comes out that they claim he's Sebastian. It's 10 years later. He's married to Marla, and Tyler does start to come back because Marla misses Tyler. So she starts hiding his medicine, giving him placebos. It's revealed that Tyler is a virus that has been haunting, basically going through his entire family, and is now going to infect the child of Marla and the narrator. Eventually, throughout the series, the comic book series, it's revealed what Tyler's plan is, which is, again, he's going to martyr himself to try to get this whole thing up and going. And he breaks the fourth wall and goes and talks to the book writer, who has also happened to write the stories for the sequels, and says, well, what's the plan? What's going on? And he says, well, one of my plans is that Tyler is going to get Marla pregnant, and then he's going to go ahead and kill himself to become a martyr. And Tyler did not like that, so he shoots and kills the writer so that he can just have the kid with Marla.
Awesome.
Okay.
So it gets all meta like that.
Awesome.
Okay.
But then somehow there's also number 3.
Awesome.
Okay.
They may make a movie.
No, they don't.
There's also a plan out there. They're still working on it for Fight Club the musical.
Oh, that could be lame.
But Edward Norton has already come out and said, do not expect him and Brad Pitt to be in it because neither one of them can sing.
Oh, well, there you go.
Welcome to a new segment we like to call
Face the Wheel.
The The premise is simple. I will spin the wheel, and whatever category comes up, John and Don will apply it to the movie that we are reviewing. Once they have presented their idea to me, I will decide the winner of this week's wheel. So here are the categories: mashup, plot, rename, genre, reboot, fuck it. I liked it better when it was called spin again, pick any, add any character from any movie. Here we go. Add any character.
You got one?
I do. I totally have one. Do you have one?
I believe so.
I wonder if we're thinking of the same thing. What do you think? What do you think the odds are?
Well, I'm thinking of adding Robin Williams to the movie.
Oh, no, that's not who I was thinking of, so please.
And I'm having him play the same character he played in Good Will Hunting. He's the psychologist, and he's actually seeing the narrator. And while he's trying to break down the issues of the narrator, he knows about Tyler Durden. He knows about the split personality, but he's trying to help the narrator to come to the realization of that he has a split personality. And throughout the whole movie, he's trying to help him kind of go to the good side. But really what happens is Tyler Durden turns Robin Williams' character to part of Project Mayhem, and he becomes a part of it in the end.
I like that. That's not bad. That's not bad. Are you ready for mine?
Okay.
I'm adding Mickey from Snatch, who is a third personality to their narrator. Both played by Brad Pitt and both full of shenanigans. Tell me that's not a fucking piece of fried gold. Tyler and Mickey have to fight. Does that mean Edward Norton's hitting himself with two hands? What? Professor's with me.
Would it be called Snatch Club?
No, but that's the fucking porn name. Nice. Good job. Those are our pitches.
Yeah, I get it.
Mine would be Goodwill Fighting.
That's not horrible. Goodwill Fight Club.
Goodwill Fight Club.
Yeah.
Okay, but we don't need names.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to give this one to Don.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, I like Mickey coming in.
You a boxer? You look like a boxer.
That would be funny during the Fight Club scenes.
Yeah.
Right before he fights somebody.
So there you have it, listeners. This week, the point goes to Don. And that concludes this week's
Face the wheel.
All right. What do you guys think? You guys ready to rate this flick?
I'm ready to rate this flick. John, are you ready to rate this flick?
Part of me is ready to give my review, but another part of me wants to go out, cause a bunch of chaos, destroy a bunch of things, and really stick it to the man. Good thing I'm fucking lazy. So here's my review.
Professor, how do we do our ratings?
We do our ratings on a scale of 1 to 5 fucks. 5 fucks is a movie that we think is cinematic gold. A 1 fuck movie is a movie where you get done watching it, you turn to your buddy, and you say, oh, for shit's sake. What the hell? Why would you make me watch that? I want 2 hours and 19 minutes of my life back.
Or in other words, we just don't give a fuck.
Since I pulled this out of the Broncos helmet, would you like me to go first?
That is the rule.
Before I do, Don, you're doing pretty well lately. Do you want to guess what my rating's going to be?
Your rating for Fight Club, we have talked about Fight Club for a little bit. I know you like the movie. 4 fucks. Final answer.
Final answer, 4 fucks. I'm going to go ahead and start with what I see as the positives of this movie. I feel like at least the first couple times you watch it, it has a very engaging storyline. The first time, figuring out that whole twist of he has split personality, what's going on, all that. I also enjoyed, like I thought originally, Marla was the split personality, or she was the imaginary friend. I thought the acting was pretty good. Edward Norton, like I said, not my favorite, but I thought Brad Pitt did a really good job, and I thought Marla did a great job in this movie. The dialogue is very quotable in this. Even just going through to try to pick a quote for tonight for starting off this thing, there were so many we could use, and I find there's a lot of fun things you can say. You hear people quoting all the time, the rules, things like that. Just very quotable. Regarding the cultural impact of this movie, influencing discussions on masculinity, anti-commercialism, and the nature of reality, it is something that, can be looked into and is pretty thought-provoking. I thought the directing of David Fincher was really well done. His choices of using a dark, gritty visuals to complement the tone and the themes seemed to work for me. And the complex characters, I like how they were all deeply flawed and relatable despite their extreme reactions. Now, regarding the negatives that I saw in this movie, there are a lot of pacing issues. In some points in the movie, it just really feels like it drags, especially after the second or third time watching it and knowing what's going to happen. It's a bit tough to get through some scenes. The misinterpretation from some audiences, the film's themes of rebellion and anti-establishment behavior can and has inspired individuals to engage in harmful and destructive actions. So I've never been a huge fan of movies that propose people go out and do violent things and make them look like they're positive things. The rewatchability, 2 times is good, but after that, things seem to drag even more. And then the confusing plot to some, in the kind of non-linear structure, can be too much for some folks. Like my dad watched this with me last night, and he was having a lot of trouble following. I wasn't giving him any hints on what this movie was, where it was going, the split personality or anything. And by the end, he had lost all interest. He just couldn't even focus on the movie anymore. Fight Club, directed by David Fincher, is a provocative and visually stunning cult classic that delves into the themes of consumerism, identity, and rebellion. With exceptional performances by Brad Pitt and Helena Bonham Carter, sharp dialogue, and a shocking twist, it captivates audiences the first time through. Its dark humor, stylish direction, and complex characters contribute to its enduring appeal, despite its controversial and violent content. It's for those reasons I'm giving Fight Club 4 fucks.
That's a bingo. All right, you or me?
I'm going next.
All right, you go next.
Thank you.
So, starting to think maybe you're my split personality and then you're in my head.
Yeah, that's not all I'm in. Go ahead, laugh, dude. It's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person.
Fight Club is, I think, a good movie. When I watched it the first time, I was completely blown away with the story reveal at the twist end. And having it be a couple of years since I've seen the movie, I thought it still held up. I found the movie to be captivating to watch with the stylish camera work. Brad Pitt, I was constantly drawn to Brad Pitt every time he was on screen, from his outrageous outfits to his quirky personality, tropes that are not tropes, but his quirky personality comments, the way that he would express himself. I found it to be intriguing. I thought that David Fincher put together a very stylish look throughout the movie. Having the narrator look so dogged and run down and having him be so pathetic, I understand the yang that Tyler Durden is to the narrator. And I thought having these two personalities come about through the movie and the reveal at the end was something that still held me. I still enjoyed watching the back and forth between the two characters. Marla, I thought that she was an interesting watch as well, especially now I know that she is trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with Tyler and the narrator, how these two personalities are so diametrically opposed to each other that she's just on this crazy train ride that she doesn't know what the hell is going on, but she keeps coming back for more. So I guess, she's okay with it. I think that the movie does have a couple of weak points to it, in particular the ending, that we end up having somebody shoot themselves in the head, and yet they survive okay. Walking around, he should be squirting a bunch of blood out of his neck, but he's I don't know. I guess he was a lucky shot, and he didn't hit any major arteries or veins or anything like that kept him from, dropping dead in just a few seconds, because he should be gushing blood all over the floor. So I guess it was a lucky shot. But I think that in general, the movie does work for me because of how much is explained to me through the internal dialogue that we get from the narrator talking to us, the audience. I think that I really am ready to watch this movie again pretty much any time. And I think it really holds up for me anyway. And I'm going to give this movie 4.5 fucks.
4.5 fucks from the professor. And now it's my turn.
You go next.
I remember in 99 when I watched the film, I wasn't a big fan. Twist seemed very cliche to me. Kind of like, oh, it was all part of a dream. And so I wasn't really digging on it. And fast forward however many years later, and I watch it again for this podcast, going into it with different eyes and maybe a little bit more of, refined taste, if you will. And I will say this, it is put together very well. The look is gritty and dark, and it fits the tone in which the story is being told. I think Brad Pitt is an absolute delight, and this movie's going to get 2.5 fucks from me just because of Brad Pitt alone. I thought that the rest of the characters were passable. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Edward Norton, but I mean, it is what it is. I liked Helena Bonham Carter in this. The soundtrack was good. However, for me, it does drag a little bit. It's a little bit long. And I find the ending twist of him having a split personality, okay, we'll roll with it. But when we cut to scenes where he's fighting himself, for me, I just thought it looked dumb. And who was going to start a fight club with a guy who fights himself? And unfortunately, that takes me out of it. It took me out of it back in 99, and it takes me out of it last night. So it's with all of those reasons, I'm giving Fight Club 2.75 fucks.
Okay, pretty different.
Yeah. But that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. With 4 fucks from the comic book guy, 4.5 fucks from the professor, and 2.75 fucks from yours truly, that gives Fight Club an average of 3.75 fucks, which now ties it in the 15th spot with The Cabin in the Woods, Fallen, Hell or High Water, The Muppet Movie, The Blues Brothers, and Booksmart. It is slightly better than Pee-wee's Big Adventure and A Miracle on 34th Street, and slightly worse than Die Hard 2, Die Harder, Rambo First Blood Part 2, and Black Panther Wakanda Forever. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Three Guys in a Flick. If you would like to know which movie we're going to be reviewing next, please check out the website. Speaking of which, hey, John, where can they find us?
Well, they can always find us at threeguysinaflick.com, where we go ahead and post every show, our show notes, as well as a form on there where you can submit a movie you would like us to review next. You can find us at all of social media and any place that hosts podcasts. And hey, while you're listening to us right now, make sure to go ahead and leave us a comment and leave us a rating. We'd love to hear from you.
All right. I just want to thank Ben C. for throwing this into the Bronco helmet. I hope you enjoy listening to it. We had fun reviewing it. I also want to thank anyone else who listens and who has requested a movie. If you keep listening, we'll keep recording. For Three Guys in a Flick, I'm Don.
I'm John.
And I'm Ken. Thanks for listening.
Three guys with some mics, yeah, dive into the flicks. We're here for the real talk, no time for the tricks. Don is the captain, steering us right. Kid drops knowledge, shedding light. John with the comics, bringing the hype. From the good, the bad, to the absurd, we break it down, make sure you heard. Passion for the screen, we ride or die about movies. You know, we always give a fuck, no lie.
But every Friday night, we were finding something out.
Friday or Saturday?
But every Saturday night.
But there's some actually interesting points in...
No, there's not, because this is not that interesting of a movie. All right, let's go on to trivia so we can get into this shit.
I don't know. Are you going to yell at me again?
I might.
Might be worth it.
Jared Leto. Which movie was he in?
Nothing I care about.
You're going to kick yourself.
Probably. Well, still, what the fuck was it?
American Psycho.
Oh, that's right. It was a fucking American Psycho.
And I was right. I didn't care.
They become friends and start an underclub fight club
Underground.
What'd I say?
Underclub.
What's the fucking difference? Fantastic.
And you know what you
The
get?
things that Professor knows.
You know what you get with all that? It's called dynamite.
Oh, well, there you go. Now, there you go, kids. Now you know how to make dynamite.
All I remember is that you have to have sawdust in it.
You know what we didn't talk about? Edward Norton beating the shit out of Jared Leto. 4 fucks from the comic book guy, 4.25 fucks from the professor, and 2. What did I say?
4.25.
What's the difference? I fucked that up.
Oh.
He was just pointing it out so we'd get the correct average. Fascinating. I feel so much smarter for knowing that.
And I know that will end up on the cutting room floor, so that's why I threw it there.
Thank you. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Two Guys.
So I'm already gone.
See, I've already wrapped you up. All right, it's time. I have 1 or 2.
I have 3.
Of course you do. And let me guess, you're going to list them from bottom to top.
That's not a bad idea.
Thanks, buddy. All right, what do you got there, guy? Nothing?
Well, there's
For Fight Club? All right, go on.
There's a real obvious one. Is it the one that you went with, or what do you have?
Probably.
What do you have?
Fist Club?
That's one of them I wrote down.
Fuck Club?
That's one of them I wrote down.
And Fart Club.
I did not have that one. So the only one that I had that you didn't already mention, Fuck Chub.
Okay. All right. For me, I think Fuck Club is the winner.
That's the easy one.
Yeah, because it kind of encompasses all of the fucking. All right. May all of your days and nights be filled with happiness. All right. Fuck off. Good night.
As 3 guys in a fight, keep the passion alive. Fuck